Welcome to First Sleep Aid, calm stories to help you unwind, learn, and fall asleep. From true crime to curious facts and thoughtful ideas, always softly spoken. Subscribe now and take a deep breath. You're in good hands.
You watch him play, and he doesn't glide. He darts.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't quite dribble like you'd expect. Sometimes he just seems to materialize
No,
almost.
I appear out of nowhere.
And there's no big announcement, just maybe this slightly awkward grin after the ball hits the net.
It's like the ball knows where he is. It's got this homing beacon.
Yeah, you almost register his presence before you properly see him.
Yeah.
That lean frame, the slightly strange stride,
It looks almost accidental sometimes, doesn't it? His movement.
until it ends up with another goal. Thomas Müller just doesn't always look like a world-class player in that classic sense.
No, the running style isn't textbook.
His passing is effective, sure, but not flashy. Shooting is more placement than pure power.
And yet, the results speak for themselves. The winnings.
Constantly. You don't see those dazzling solo runs, no thunderbolts from 30 yards, not even those heroic last-ditch tackles.
It's elusive, isn't it? Harder to define what he actually does.
He finds space. That's the key, I think.
Exactly. Not the neat zones on a tactics board, but the messy bits.
Those undefined pockets, yeah.
Yeah.
Between the lines, that split second where a defender hesitates.
And that's the moment. Before the pass becomes the goal. A touch that's just effective, not necessarily beautiful.
And suddenly, the whole game is shifted.
It's fascinating how many labels people tried to stick on him over the years.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, some said he was just lucky, a charm.
Right. The right place, right time argument.
Or just a cog in a very efficient machine, Bayern or Germany. Others almost treated him like an anomaly, a bit of a joke even.
But while they were saying all that,
The stats just kept climbing relentlessly, and the trophies kept piling up.
maybe the biggest sign was just seeing how frustrated top defenders got. Always that half second too late.
Absolutely. So this deep dive, well, it's all about him. This incredibly unconventional footballing genius.
World Cup winner, Champions League winner, Bundesliga legend, record breaker.
And he did it all while, seemingly sidestepping all those attributes we think a top player needs.
Let's really get into that, this unconventional genius idea. Because there's that term he coined himself, isn't there?
Ah, yes. The famous one.
Raumdeuter. Sounds a bit like something from a sci-fi film.
It does. But it translates roughly to space interpreter.
Or reader of empty grass, I've heard that too.
Yeah, and that really feels like the key, the Rosetta Stone, to understanding him.
So where did this all start? What kind of environment shapes a player like that?
Well, you always look at the early days, don't you? The foundation. And for Müller, that was Pale in Bavaria.
Pale. Describe that for us.
Picture a village, really small, fewer than 2,000 people, lots of green fields, country lanes.
Classic Bavarian scene. Window boxes, Alps in the distance.
Exactly that. It's not a place seeking the spotlight, but it was full of space for a kid with endless energy to just move.
Sounds peaceful. A world away from the pressure cooker of professional football.
It really does. He was born there in 1989. His parents, Gerhard and Claudia, one worked for a heating company, the other a teacher.
So no footballing dynasty waiting for him.
Not at all. Just a boy, a ball, and hours upon hours of just playing.
And that early obsession, what did it look like?
It was deep. He played anywhere, driveway, garden, gravel roads. But the focus wasn't on fancy dribbling, looking cool.
It was about movement.
Movement, figuring things out, and scoring goals. Always the goals. Dribbling was just a way to get there.
I read he was bright at school, polite, maybe a bit eccentric.
Yeah, and always playful. He'd wear his football boots till they fell apart, play with older kids.
And even then, that knack.
For being where the ball would land, not where it was, but where it was going. You could already see glimpses of it.
And eventually that led him to the local club, TSV Pale, age 10.
Yeah, not because scouts were knocking, just because he couldn't stop playing.
And the coaches there noticed.
They noticed the goals. He wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest, but he consistently scored. That timing, that sense of where to be, it was there. Raw instinct, maybe.
It makes you wonder, how much did Pale itself shape him? That environment?
It's a great question. The text mentions the rhythm of its silence, the softness of its fields, the lightness of its expectations.
So less pressure, less intense evaluation than you'd get in a big academy.
Exactly. Freedom to just explore, run, chase the ball for the sheer joy of it. His motivation wasn't fame. It was just love of the game.
And sometimes that pure passion is the best fuel.
It can be.
So from quiet pale, he makes the leap. Bayern Munich Academy, 2000. That must have been a culture shock.
Oh, absolutely. And apparently he wasn't exactly heralded on arrival.
Easy to miss.
Very. Thin, still growing, that slightly awkward way he moved, like he was trying to sprint and apologize at the same time.
He didn't look like the polished academy prospect.
Not at all. And this was Bayern, remember, a finishing school. Pressure, ambition, constant evaluations, kids with agents already.
A really intense environment.
Very. And in walks this unassuming kid from Pale.
And it wasn't like he tore up the training drills either.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't ace the physical tests.
No, not really. Didn't stand out in possession drills. Wasn't physically imposing. But then, come match day,
He scored.
consistently. It baffled the coaches. He wasn't always where the tactics board said he should be. His movements didn't fit the plays. But when the ball broke loose near the goal,
Müller was there.
invariably. It wasn't coached into him. It was this intuitive reading of the game that, structured systems couldn't teach.
And that's when Bayern's coaches really started paying attention, even if they didn't fully understand it.
I think so. He wasn't elite by their usual standards, but he was just undeniably effective. That instinct. You can't teach that.
So he wasn't the golden boy, but he kept progressing. Slowly, steadily.
Yes, never the big star of his age group, and they kept trying to figure out where he fit.
Tried him in different spots.
Attacking midfielder, maybe not quite that classic creative flair.
Right.
Striker, maybe a bit too slight, not physically dominant. Winger, a bit too unorthodox in his movement, maybe lacked that blistering pace.
Nobody could quite nail down his position.
It's ironic, isn't it? Given he later coined Raumdeuter, but back then he was just this unusual kid who scored goals.
But it wasn't just the goals keeping him there, was it? His attitude played a part.
A huge part. Despite not fitting the mold, he had these great qualities. Disciplined, always on time, always smiling.
A bit of a prankster too, I read.
Yeah, but apparently never disruptive. Good relationships with staff, reliable, no disciplinary issues.
So he advanced through quiet dependability, not hype.
Exactly. He just persevered, outlasted others who maybe looked more like the typical prospect. By 18, he's knocking on the reserve team door. Still lean, still a bit awkward, still scoring those weirdly effective goals.
And still largely misunderstood.
In many ways, yeah.
Then comes 2009, a massive moment. Louis van Gaal arrives at Bayern.
Big changes?
Bayern needed discipline, structure. Van Gaal had this reputation for strict systems, demanding methods. It seems odd that Müller would thrive under him.
It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it? Van Gaal, the systems man, the disciplinarian. You wouldn't necessarily pick Müller as his type of player.
Right.
But Van Gaal saw something. In preseason, watching the reserves, he noticed Müller. This skinny kid runs funny.
And someone commented on the run.
Apparently, and Van Gaal just shot back, but he scores.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Outcome over aesthetics.
For Van Gaal, it seems so. What mattered was this kid consistently got into scoring positions.
Which led to that press conference moment.
Incredible, wasn't it? So direct. A journalist asks about the squad. Van Gaal lists some names and then, completely unprompted, just states, Müller plays.
Just like that. No ifs, ands, or buts.
None. Imagine how validating that must have been for Müller. Someone in charge finally saying, yes, you, just as you are.
Didn't need to bulk up, didn't need to become a classic number 10 or winger.
Just needed to be Thomas Müller. Van Gaal gave him that platform.
And Müller absolutely repaid that fate. He played everywhere that season, didn't he?
Incredibly versatile. Second striker, wide forward, that shadow runner. The Raumdeuter before the name existed, really.
Goals, assists, confusing defenders.
Absolutely. And Bayern thrived. Reached the Champions League final that season, 09-10. Müller, just 20, played over 50 games, 19 goals, 15 assists. Phenomenal.
And it wasn't just Bayern noticing.
No. Joachim Löw, the Germany manager, was watching closely. He saw what Van Gaal saw. Not a fixed position player, but this unique, unpredictable element.
He figured Germany needed that for the World Cup.
Exactly. If they were going to succeed in South Africa, they needed that bit of the unexpected. They needed Müller.
Which takes us to South Africa 2010, his big breakthrough.
Ew.
Especially given the doubts around Germany then.
Oh, absolutely. Germany went into that World Cup quite young, lots of injuries. Ballack was out, their captain.
Lacked that big established star, maybe?
In the eyes of many, yes. Talent, sure, but maybe not the perceived experience or structure. And into that steps Müller. Number 13 shirt, 20 years old, pretty unknown outside Germany.
No weight of expectation on him.
It's just opportunity. And that first game against Australia, Wow. Germany were electric, fast, technical, ruthless.
Müller started wide.
Yeah, involved, but quiet initially, until the second half. Little spin, defender beaten, curls a low shot into the far corner.
Gaal, World Cup debut, on the score sheet.
Germany win convincingly, and the world starts asking, who is this guy?
But it wasn't all plain sailing. The Serbia game was a setback.
Yeah, a stumble, lost 1-0. Müller got subbed at halftime. Questions started. Criticism. Was the first game a fluke?
But his reaction.
Typically Müller, no big drama, no public complaints. Seems he just absorbs it and moves on. Doesn't see himself as the star, perhaps.
And then Ghana. Final group game.
Yeah.
Massive pressure.
Huge. Must win for both sides. Tense game. Second half, Müller gets the ball outside the box.
Like catch.
Swivel, shoots, takes a little deflection, loops in. Goal number 2. Germany are through.
Next up, England. Round of 16. The history, the rivalry. Huge game.
And Müller absolutely delivered. Germany were brilliant that day. Fast counters, slick passing, clinical finishing.
And Müller scored twice.
2 crucial goals. First, a powerful finish on the break. Second, really composed, slotted it past the keeper after a great run.
And the celebration.
That almost childlike grin, jogging to the corner flag like it was a kickabout in the park.
Then Argentina in the quarters. He
Yeah.
opens the scoring again in that classic, slightly weird Müller way.
Exactly. Free kick comes in from Schweinsteiger. Müller makes that darting near post run.
Barely jumps.
Doesn't need to. Perfect anticipation. Ball glances off his head, maybe his knee. Doesn't matter. It's in. Unconventional, but effective. Again.
Shame about the yellow card later ruling him out of the semi.
Yeah, unfortunate. But by then, his impact on the tournament was just undeniable.
And by the end of it all, South Africa 2010, his stats were just incredible for a newcomer.
6 matches, 5 goals, 3 assists. Unreal. Golden Boot winner, best young player. Astonishing, really, given how unknown he was beforehand.
And the way he played.
That was the essence, wasn't it? Infiltrating lines, slipping between roles, popping up unexpectedly. By the end, everyone knew Germany's most dangerous weapon was the one they least expected.
That Argentina quarterfinal really crystallizes it, doesn't it? Especially framing it as Müller versus Messi.
It's a perfect contrast. All the hype was Messi, naturally. The global superstar weaving magic, gliding past players. He was the focus, the shadow Germany had to escape.
And then there's Müller. Long sleeves, maybe slightly gangly, running style, not exactly balletic.
But totally unfazed by the occasion, by the opponent, just Müller being Müller.
And he makes an impact almost immediately.
3rd minute, free kick. Schweinsteiger delivers. Müller makes that near post dart.
The header, the knee,
Ah.
goal. 1-0 Germany.
And that just set the tone. Argentina tried to respond, Messi probing, Tevez pressing, but Germany were solid
Yeah.
and ruthless on the counter. Klose, Podolski, Schweinsteiger himself score.
And Müller's role in all that, where was he?
Everywhere and nowhere, almost. Drifting into those pockets between midfield and defense, pulling defenders out of shape, flicking clever passes, pressing relentlessly when Argentina had the ball.
Not dominating possession himself.
But totally disrupting Argentina's shape. Not with force, but with intelligent movement off the ball. Every time Messi tried something, Germany swarmed him, and Müller was always nearby. Never frantic, just there.
And the final score, 4-0. A demolition.
Truly emphatic. Messi walks off, dejected, no goals, no assists, no answers. Müller walks off goal, assists, yellow card, meaning he misses the semi, but instrumental in taking apart a tournament favorite.
The contrast was stark.
King of the ball versus, well, master of the space around it. And that day, the Raumdeuter won.
And it was after that game, really, that the term Raumdeuter started to stick, wasn't it?
Yes, people were finally trying to wrap their heads around him, analyzing his runs, trying to diagram his movements, realizing he didn't fit a standard position. His only constant was timing and space.
And when asked, his explanation was disarmingly simple.
I just go where the space is. And from that, Raumdeuter took hold. He didn't invent the style, maybe, but he named it perfectly.
No one else played quite like that or explained it so simply.
He didn't beat Messi by trying to be Messi. He won by being different, by conquering space, not just the ball. A new kind of player arrived.
So he comes back from South Africa, World Cup winner, Golden Boot, best young player, an incredible haul. But it sounds like there wasn't that immediate, massive explosion of superstardom you might expect.
That's a really sharp point. Statistically, it was huge. Golden Boot, best young player, should launch you into orbit.
But no huge endorsement deals overnight. No Müller mania.
Not really, because Müller didn't shine in that conventional individual brilliance way. He just ate results. The 2010 World Cup was massive for Germany, this new generation emerging. But while others had maybe a more gradual path to stardom, Müller just seemed to leap straight to productivity, almost bypassing the hype phase.
From unknown to most effective attacker in weeks.
Pretty much.
And this unconventional style, it led to confusion, debate.
Oh, yeah. Despite the stats, the goals, assists, golden boot, there was still this uncertainty. Is he a striker? An attacking midfielder? Was it luck? Just a purple patch?
Analysts trying to figure him out.
Poring over footage, trying to dissect his movement, but struggling to fit him into a neat tactical box. His impact wasn't about those easily digestible highlight moments. It was just consistent, crucial results.
And those results didn't always fit the narrative of what makes a great player.
Exactly. Even in Germany, people were a bit taken aback by this new kind of star who didn't act like one. No ego, no demands. He just went back to Pell, smiling like he'd had a good summer holiday.
And his explanation.
Typically understated, I just ran into space. The ball seemed to follow.
It's almost a paradox, isn't it? Winning the Golden Boot should cement you as a world-class goal scorer. But for him, it seemed to raise more questions about his actual abilities.
Precisely. The award that usually sends careers stratospheric seemed to plunge Müller deeper into this cloud of contradiction. Statistically lethal, but why?
Scouts pointing out lack of pace or tricks. Coaches struggling to fit him in systems.
Media suggesting his style wasn't pretty enough. All of that. And through it all, Müller just gets back to work at Bayern. Same grin, same slightly wiry frame, still delivering goals and assists without fuss.
The trophy's in the cabinet, but the questions linger.
But crucially, Müller himself seemed unfazed. He knew what he was, even if others didn't. And he had the quiet confidence to know his journey was far from over.
Which brings us back to Raumdeuter becoming more than just a nickname. It actually helps explain his unique role.
Exactly. What started as maybe a half-joking answer to "what do you do?" became this accepted descriptor. Reporters kept asking, Thomas, what is your position?
And he'd say,
well, I'm a Raumdeuter. Might get a chuckle at first, but then people paused, thought about it. Raumdeuter. Space interpreter. Raum space. Duten to interpret.
it fit perfectly.
It did. This wasn't a player dominating the ball or dazzling with skill. It was someone decoding the gaps, reading the game like a puzzle, finding the missing piece that unlocks everything.
And that approach just blows up traditional roles and formations.
Completely. Most players fit into systems, defined roles. Müller never quite did. Play him wide, he drifts in. Play him central, he drops deep. Play him midfield, he makes late runs into the box.
Everywhere and nowhere specific.
Which was part of the genius. You had to watch him without the ball to really get it.
The decoy runs. The ghosting into unmarked areas.
Those sudden bursts into spaces the defense hadn't even registered as dangerous. He wasn't lightning fast, but his timing, his anticipation was impeccable. Not flashy dribbles, but just being there when the net rippled.
And it's not just random wandering, is it? There's discipline behind Raumdeuting.
Absolutely. It's not just freedom to roam. It takes discipline to wait, to observe, to find value in stillness, and then appear at the critical moment.
Like a magician stepping out from behind a curtain you didn't know was there.
Great analogy. When heat maps first tracked him, they looked chaotic, random scattering. But the coaches who worked with him saw it differently.
They saw the understanding, the geometry of the game.
Exactly. And yet, despite this unique effectiveness, he never became that massive global marketing icon. No huge campaigns, not the face of video games.
Because Raumdeuters don't crave the spotlight.
They operate on the edges, maybe step in just long enough to score the goal or make the pass, then melt back into the spaces. Müller reminded everyone that the most effective player isn't always on the ball, but the one who knows where it's going.
And at the heart of all this, Raumdeuting is just immense football intelligence, almost a sixth sense.
That's it. What looked like luck was actually something profound. Awareness, that's the hardest thing to measure in football, isn't it? Not skill, not speed, but seeing the game unfold before it happens.
And Müller has that in spades.
It's not about watching hours of tape or having a photographic memory. It's intuitive. Understanding what matters, not just the ball, but the space around it, the movement within it.
You have to watch him off the ball to appreciate it.
So much of his work happens then, before the camera even focuses on where he'll be next. Constant subtle adjustments, changing his angle before the defender reacts. It's understated, intelligent football.
It sounds like his brain is constantly processing information in real time.
Absolutely. Defensive lines shifting, who's lost their marker, where's the unexpected passing lane, ball trajectory, processing all that in a fraction of a second, then moving proactively.
And the finish looks simple, maybe even accidental to some.
But it's the end result of honed technique applied with incredible awareness. He might play the jester off the pitch, but opponents and teammates talk about his intelligence on it.
Didn't Pep Guardiola call him the cleverest player he ever coached?
He did, which says everything. In a game obsessed with metrics and physical stats, Müller excels at anticipation. He doesn't beat you with brilliance or power, he outthinks you.
While defenders watch the ball, he's watching them, watching the space.
Exactly. By the time they realize where he's gone, it's too late.
So what looks like instinct is actually refined experience and a razor-sharp football mind.
Yes. It's like a system in disguise, as the text puts it. Built over years, refined under top coaches, tested against elite defenders. And quietly, he turns spatial awareness into a career overflowing with trophies and goals.
Behind the grin and the slightly awkward limbs, there's a mind that just understands space like few others.
He's not just improvising, he's calculating probabilities, possibilities, and then maybe chuckling as he executes the play, knowing the opposition still hasn't quite grasped it.
How did this unique, almost unstructured style fit into a club like Bayern Munich, known for its precision and structure?
That's the fascinating contradiction, isn't it? Bayern, precision, calculation, efficiency. German engineering applied to football. Values, control, structure, discipline.
And yet at the heart of their most successful teams
Was Müller. This player who seemed to defy those principles through the rebuilding in the early 2010s managerial changes. One constant. Müller played.
under Heinkes, Guardiola, Ancelotti, Flick. Different philosophies, but Müller was always there.
They all found a way to use him. Heinkes valued his finishing, Guardiola his intelligence, Flick his leadership and spatial sense. Others found new ways.
So they adapted to him, in a way.
It seems so. They didn't try to force him into a rigid box. They realized Müller was the unique shape, and the team needed to build around his intuition, his interpretation of space.
He became that link player, connecting midfield and attack.
Exactly. Not a traditional playmaker dictating from deep. He made plays happen with his runs, his knack for finding space in dangerous areas.
Didn't always dominate the ball, but disrupted defenses.
Created openings for others. In those quick counters, that high press, he was often that vital second runner, that third touch, the pass before the assist.
And his stats are incredible, especially considering he wasn't the main penalty or free kick taker.
Truly impressive. Record for most assists in a Bundesliga season, did it twice. 100 of goal contributions for Bayern. Involved in scoring in so many consecutive Champions League campaigns.
Multiple Bundesliga titles, multiple trebles.
And, yeah, without relying on pens or free kicks that boost tallies for others. While stars like Ribery, Robben, Lewandowski, Thiago came and went, Müller endured.
Quietly racking up monstrous numbers if you look at the cumulative impact.
Absolutely.
And he became more than just a player for Bayern, right? He became part of the club's identity.
Totally. The voice, the spirit, the witty interviewee, the training ground prankster, the first to celebrate a teammate's goal, injecting humor into tense huddles. He gave Bayern that human face.
Managers adapted to him, opponents struggled with him, teammates benefited from his presence.
Because he didn't just occupy space, he generated opportunities, created uncertainty, conducted Bayern's attacking rhythm in his own quiet way.
Let's shift to the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. Germany seemed like a different beast by then, more clinical, maybe less romantic, and Müller was still central.
Very much so. They were incredibly well drilled by 2014. An engineered unit, not necessarily flamboyant, but relentless, organized, ruthlessly clinical.
And Müller wasn't the unknown quantity anymore.
No, teams studied him, circled his name, and yet he was still somehow unquantifiable and still brutally effective.
That opening game against Portugal.
A hat trick. Just reminded everyone of his tournament pedigree. 3 different goals, all showing that knack for being in the right place. Set the tone.
And throughout the tournament, he was that vital thread in the German machine.
Absolutely. You had Neuer as a sweeper keeper, Lahm anchoring midfield, Kroos dictating, solid defense, Khedira and Schweinsteiger providing energy and nous.
And Müller just drifting through it all.
Like a live wire connecting the circuits. Not always the final pass or the big dribble, but making those clever runs, pulling defenders away, playing those subtle flicks that unlock the next phase.
Didn't dominate games in a traditional sense, but his presence was infectious.
Disrupted opponents, created space. By the semifinals, Germany had conceded few goals, but Müller was near the top of the scoring charts.
It felt like the culmination of Löw's project, that team, and Müller's role in it.
It really did. Maybe not the most obviously gifted player individually, but absolutely essential to that specific balanced system. He didn't always need the ball. He could influence the shape of the game itself.
And then the semifinal against Brazil, the 7-1. Just unbelievable. What was Müller's part in that?
Unprecedented, wasn't it? The Mineirão Stadium electric Brazil expecting glory, then that catastrophic 6-minute implosion in the first half.
But Müller got things started even earlier.
11th minute, Cruz corner, and there's Müller at the back post, completely unmarked.
No big leap, no struggle.
Just casually steps into the space like slipping through a door before it closes, as the text says. Right foot touch, 1-0 Germany.
Yeah.
Brazil shaken.
But the real collapse was yet to come.
Between the 23rd and 29th minute, 4 more Germany goals. Utter disbelief worldwide.
And Müller's influence during that blitz.
Undeniable, even if he didn't score them all. His movement dragged defenders everywhere. His runs forced panic decisions. His passes created space for teammates to exploit ruthlessly.
He finished with the opening goal and 2 assists.
Yeah, but the stats barely capture his unsettling impact. At halftime, 5-0, Lou subs him off. Job done.
A 59-minute masterclass in dismantling a team without dominating the ball.
Yeah.
Just exploiting space.
Perfectly put. And his reaction afterwards, amidst the global shock.
Typically understated.
Just said, it was a bit crazy, but we stayed cool. Cool. That sums him up, doesn't it? Perfectly positioned, calmly effective, even in the most chaotic match imaginable.
Then the final. Argentina again. Tense. Germany win their 4th World Cup. Müller's role.
A much tighter affair at the American. Argentina were more organized, determined not to repeat the 2010 thrashing. Müller wasn't a surprise anymore. He was a known, key part of the German machine.
And he just did what Müller does.
Moved intelligently, pressed relentlessly, harried midfielders, disrupted their buildup, drifted into those pockets between the lines, pulled players like Mascherano out of position, stretched their back line.
Creating those small fractions of space for others.
Exactly. Unseen work, maybe, but crucial. He didn't score or get a direct assist in the final, but his tactical intelligence was vital.
Almost scored himself late on.
Yeah, 88th minute, run into the box, half volley deflected just wide.
And Götze's winning goal in extra time. Müller played a part indirectly.
If you watch the replay, his movement on the far side pulls a couple of defenders away, creating that little bit more clarity for Götze's run. Subtle, but important.
And when the whistle went, world champions.
He celebrated with quiet fulfillment. Understated satisfaction, almost. Like it was the logical outcome of a well-executed plan.
No golden boot this time, but it didn't matter.
No. He wasn't the breakout star anymore. He was a 2-time World Cup top scorer and, crucially, a world champion. Integral to it all.
Beyond the pitch, Müller has this unique, humorous persona that really sets him apart.
It's one of his most endearing, maybe initially baffling qualities. In a world of carefully managed images, Müller is just refreshingly weird.
Sound effects in interviews, cartoonish celebrations.
Answering questions like he's in his own quirky sitcom.
Yes. But behind the absurdity is that incredibly sharp football brain, always thinking ahead. Teammates and coaches say the off-field persona is misleading.
Initially, maybe, but they quickly realize the intelligence underneath. The humor isn't a PR strategy. It seems genuine. A way to handle pressure, keep perspective.
Reset the tension. Remind everyone it's still a game.
I think so. Not life or death.
And this humor isn't just for interviews. It's part of his personality.
Oh, yeah. He's the team prankster at Bayern, hiding in lockers, impersonating coaches, silly noises in warm-ups, elaborate dances during title celebrations.
But when the whistle blows,
it transforms. Jokes stop, focus kicks in, he becomes deadly serious, strategically brilliant, ruthlessly effective, but somehow without losing the underlying joy for the game.
His self-description, goat, shepherd, and a bit of chaos, is funny, but also quite insightful.
It is. The humor isn't random, it's intelligent. It disarms critics, levels interactions, lets him play with freedom and joy, which probably fuels his success.
He doesn't have Messi's grace or Ronaldo's theater.
He has playful mischief. Like he's still that kid from Pale who wandered onto the world stage and just kept playing.
And that unpredictable approach extends to media interviews too. He rarely gives the standard answers.
His interviews are performances. In a world of scripted media soundbites, Müller delivers these linguistic adventures. Amusing, bewildering, but somehow enlightening.
Describing a goal as tickling the net, like a squirrel who's had too much caffeine.
Exactly. Says it deadpan, maybe a little wink, leaves you wondering but feeling like you understood anyway.
Or his playing style being geometry, mixed with instinct,
Hmm.
and maybe a little bit of Bavarian pretzel.
Classic Miller. Nonsensical on the surface, yet paints this vivid picture of his intuitive, unconventional mind at work. He turns the mundane post-match interview into improv comedy.
Deflecting tricky questions, making observations, but still kind of answering.
It's a real skill.
And there's a talent in that, isn't there? Being funny without being dismissive, answering without giving too much away.
It's remarkable. His humor is a disarming mechanism. He rarely gets dragged into media controversies or outrage cycles.
Says enough to be engaging, but never reveals too much sensitive info.
Exactly. But within the absurdity, you get genuine insight into his mindset, his approach. The Müller effect in interviews isn't just entertainment.
It's communication,
Yeah.
a reminder that joy and authenticity matter.
Yes. In a world obsessed with control, he throws in this wonderful, chaotic element. It's not evasion. It's a reminder that football's still a game, and finding humor in it is a strength, maybe even a sign of intelligence.
And despite all the success, fame, money, he seems to have stayed incredibly grounded, humble, down to earth.
It's one of his most admirable traits. In an era of extravagance and celebrity culture among athletes, Müller remains remarkably normal.
No entourage, no fragrance line, no private jets for parties.
Reportedly drives a modest car, lives near Pale, married his childhood sweetheart, Lisa, spends his downtime working on her equestrian farm.
Actually getting involved,
Mm.
feeding horses, mucking out stables.
It seems genuine, not a photo op. Reflects his values. At Bayern's training ground, no designer gear, just Müller ready to work. Jokes with staff, engages the media, holds the door for academy kids. He's just a good guy who happens to be brilliant at football.
And that authenticity resonates with fans.
Massively. In a game seen as increasingly commercial and detached, Müller feels real. He embraces his own slight clumsiness, his awkward moments.
Missing a high five, tripping after scoring. Fans love him for it.
They do. They see someone unchanged by fame, true to his roots. His social media is unfiltered, odd, entertaining, sliding in the snow in his kit, singing off-key on the team bus.
No PR team curating it, just
Yeah.
Miller being Miller.
He's this refreshing glitch in the system, and that's why he's so beloved. Doesn't chase the spotlight, just shines in his own unique way. Still seems happy as just getting ready for the next game, looking for the next space.
His Germany career had those incredible highs, like the World Cup win, but then that surprising exit under Lowe, followed by a return. Tell us about that period.
It was significant, and yes, surprising for many. After over 100 caps, winning the World Cup, Lowe abruptly ended his international career in March 2019, along with Hummels and Boateng.
Just like that. What was the reasoning?
Lowe framed it as a necessary generational shift, making way for younger players. But it drew criticism because Müller was still playing incredibly well for Bayern.
Maybe even getting better, more assists, deeper understanding.
Many thought so, yet suddenly he was out of the picture.
And his reaction was pretty measured, wasn't it? Professional.
Very. Disappointed, maybe bewildered, but calm. Released a video, expressed surprise, acknowledged it was final, but reaffirmed commitment to Bayern. No accusations, no outbursts.
Just got on with his club football.
Exactly. And under Hansi Flick at Bayern, he had this amazing resurgence, led them to the treble while he was excluded from Germany.
Which naturally led to calls for his return.
Growing sentiment that Germany needed him, his spatial understanding, his creativity, they were missing.
And eventually, Lowe recalled him.
Yes, May 2021, just before Euro 2020. Him and Hummels. Müller's return was typically low-key. Feels good to be back. I've missed it. No sense of vindication.
Just slotted back in.
Felt like a necessary correction. That Raumdeuter space in the team was just waiting for him.
And reuniting with Hansi Flick for Germany after their Bayern success seemed seamless.
Very natural. Flick knew Müller inside out, trusted him to just be Müller. No need to change him.
And Miller slotted back in, finding space, connecting play, bringing humor and experience.
Effortlessly. Became that link between the 2014 winners and the new generation. His motivation seemed less about personal glory now, more about contributing to the team.
Provided continuity experience.
Definitely. Though the 2022 World Cup in Qatar was ultimately a disappointment for Germany, going out early.
And Miller's comments afterwards left his future ambiguous.
Yeah, saying if it was his last game, it had been an honor. Honest, reflective. But even with that uncertainty, his commitment to Bayern continued, adapting to new tactics, new stars. His later career became about endurance, love of the game, not just glory.
Looking back at his whole career, that loyalty to Bayern really stands out, especially now.
It's incredibly rare, isn't it? 2 decades, essentially, with one club. In an era of constant player movement, financial lures, Müller is synonymous with Bayern.
More than just a player, part of the club's identity. Its culture, humor, ambition, groundedness.
Completely. He must have had huge offers from elsewhere over the years, big money, new challenges, but he always stayed.
Even when his role was questioned sometimes.
Never agitated for a move. His reason was simple. Bayern was home, he felt connected, he still had something to contribute. And the club reciprocated that loyalty, recognizing his value went beyond just stats.
And he kept adapting his own game to stay relevant.
Constantly, through different tactical eras, different managers, he found ways to be essential. False nine, winger, attacking mid, Raumdeuter. Embraced whatever role was needed.
Became a leader, mentor to younger players like Musiala.
Seamlessly. Could joke with Musiala one minute, offer tactical insight to Sané the next. His connection with the fans, speaking Bavarian, solidified him as an icon.
Never seemed to chase huge contracts or court other clubs.
In a world where one-club careers are vanishing, Müller didn't just stay, he flourished. Became indispensable. The stats are staggering, but beyond that, he became the conscience, the heart of Bayern.
Future generations will see his picture on the wall and know that is Bayern.
Exactly. From academy product to foundational pillar.
And despite not being that flashy superstar, his stats are truly elite, maybe even underrated sometimes.
They are. He wasn't obsessed with goals, didn't demand penalties or set pieces, rarely tried Hollywood shots. Yet the records he holds, many more flamboyant players would envy them.
The Bundesliga assist record broke it, then equaled it next season.
Incredible vision, unselfishness, especially later in his career, ranks among the elite playmakers in European history, and did it through dynamic movement, not static passing.
Hundreds of goals and assists for Bayern, Germany's all-time World Cup assist leader, high on the WC scorer list too.
Massive achievements, and yet, as the text notes, never even on the Ballon d'Or podium. Maybe because his contributions didn't fit the narrative of individual brilliance.
His goals were often about positioning, not power. Assists from anticipation, not dazzling dribbles.
His impact isn't always in short highlight clips, but it's undeniable in the scorelines, the trophy down. He didn't dominate with artistry. He infected the team's attack with intelligence, persistence, spatial awareness. Lethal.
After the whistle, already thinking about the next run, the next space.
While others with similar stats might be global marketing giants, Müller remained understated in awards talk. Maybe a footnote in highlight reels, but a headline in the history books. His focus was impact, team success, and the numbers prove he achieved it.
So when we look at his whole career, what's Müller's lasting place in football history?
It's different from the usual greatest player conversation, isn't it? That often revolves around iconic moments, breathtaking skill. Müller offers something else.
Sustained excellence, consistent mastery, intelligence over aesthetics.
Exactly. His legacy isn't mythology or viral moments. It's consistent brilliance, applied with dedication over a long time. He didn't dominate highlight reels, but he dominated matches with intelligence, positioning, work rate.
Didn't invent a signature move, but made every movement count.
Despite not fitting the ideal athlete mold, his trophy cabinet is overflowing. Placing him in the pantheon requires valuing effectiveness, tactical intelligence. Statistically, he's elite. Longevity almost unmatched.
And his influence on tactics.
Yeah.
Subtle, but huge.
He changed how we value space, made intelligent off-ball movement a weapon, proved anticipation can be more decisive than raw athleticism. Anyone who coached against him or played with him knows his unique effectiveness.
His legacy isn't maybe reshaping the game's global appeal like some.
No, it's rooted in mastery of fundamentals, executed with intelligence and dedication few possess. He fits the most important narrative. Winning. Wherever Müller played, the team was usually more successful with him.
And maybe that's the ultimate measure of greatness, making teams win even if how he did it wasn't always obvious.
So maybe not on the cover of every magazine, but a crucial, enduring chapter in modern football. Understated in accolades, undeniable in impact.
And his farewell match for Bayern, described for May 2025, sounded perfectly Müller, understated, heartfelt.
Yeah, the scene. Packed Allianz Arena, number 25, jogs out one last time. No big ceremony, just Müller playing football.
But the fans knew the significance. The end of an era.
Absolutely. When he was subbed off, the reaction was huge. Standing ovation, chanting his name, embraces from teammates, coaches, that final look around the pitch.
Where he'd built this incredible career, interpreting space with laughter and determination.
His words to the fans afterwards, simple, humble, just aimed to help the team win, felt they'd managed that a few times. Then that familiar wistful smile, down the tunnel one last time as a player, into the next, quieter phase.
And his post-football life seems just as grounded and private.
Totally. No immediate rush into punditry, no big personal brand launches. Seems to be embracing a quieter life, family, supporting Lisa's equestrian work.
Genuinely involved on the farm, finding contentment there.
Seems so. No craving for the spotlight. Happy spending time with friends, watching Bayern as a fan, enjoying a less scrutinized existence. His values remain. Loyalty, humility, connection to his roots. No scandals, no drama. Just that same grin, quiet purpose.
So looking back at this remarkable, unconventional career, what's the final image, the lasting takeaway from the strangest genius?
I think the conclusion sums it up perfectly. In a sport often idolizing ball control and flashy skill, Müller built a legacy by being different. He didn't break the rules, but found the spaces where they didn't quite apply, operating unseen, often to devastating effect.
Defied categorization. Striker who didn't always shoot, playmaker not always on the ball, leader who didn't seek the spotlight.
Star who didn't act like one, yet profoundly shaped matches, tournaments, an era. He gave us Raumdeuter, but more importantly, a new way to appreciate the game. To look beyond the ball, value movement, timing, spatial understanding.
Even now, the image is him just being in the right place, right time. Not luck, but intelligence, anticipation, and that infectious joy for the game.
His legacy isn't how loudly he was celebrated, but the quiet, consistent, undeniable impact he had on the sport he loved.
Thomas Müller. Truly unique. Defied expectations, achieved incredible success. The Raumdeuter concept, interpreting space, was key. He's a reminder that effectiveness, intelligence can come in unexpected forms.
And sometimes the greatest impact comes from just outside the main spotlight.
It makes you really think about what genius truly means, doesn't it, in any field?